What's up guys, thanks for checking out the video today. So today we're going to go over the costs of the Tomei 2.2 stroker build. Some people might be wondering, what does all this cost? So I'm going to do a breakdown on what kind of money we're going to be spending building this long block. And the goal of this video is going to be to price out a long block from the pan to the valve cover with manifolds. So that's exhaust manifold, intake manifold, throttle body, valve cover to oil pan. So no injectors, no fuel rail, no turbo kit, those sorts of things. So this is a complete long block ready to run, ready to select the turbo kit that you want. And I guess a few qualifiers here. I live in Canada. I'm going to be doing this in US dollars. The reason being is that honestly most of the parts that I end up buying are from US distributors, so I end up paying US dollars anyway. And the other thing that I'm not going to include in this video necessarily is going to be shipping and taxes. We're going to assume that these parts are readily available and that shipping and taxes aren't necessarily a factor. However, they do have to be factored in, obviously, but shipping and taxes are going to be a big variable just depending on where you live. Now, as far as the situation that I'm envisioning here is that you have a running and driving EVO 456, and what you're doing in this case is you're using a good core block and a good core head. Now that core block and head, if you are into the 4g63 world, you'll realize as of 2024, good blocks and good heads are a little bit hard to come by. So we're going to envision that you want to keep your car running because you're a car guy and you want to drive your car. But in addition to that, you want to build an engine and a turbo kit over some time and then maybe install it in the vehicle. So in this case, you would actually go out and buy a good block girdle, and a good head, a good core head. So that's what we're going to be starting with, is the costs of a good block, good head, and then we're going to be moving on to all of the aftermarket parts that you're going to be using. I have everything kind of laid out. I'm going to start the engine assembly, and I need to know what I have and what I'm missing. I'm actually missing a few parts, which is going to put this off for another couple of weeks. But if you are deciding to do a long block build, this will kind of give you an idea of what kind of cost you'd be incurring doing this kind of a build. This build that I'm doing with the 2.2 Tomei is probably 90% of the parts are going to be new, and that's OEM as well as aftermarket. I didn't really buy anything used, so this is a little bit on the pricey side. So just to go over the build and what you should be expecting to pay, we'll just go sort of step by step here. Okay, so starting out with the short block, what I have here is I have a stock 4g63 block, and in addition to that, I'm going to have a rotating assembly that's going to be a Tomei stroker kit. So that in itself, the costs are going to be fairly high. I'm going to try and list all of this stuff off for you guys as sort of a amount as we go, and we'll sort of add things up. So block, short block, Tomei stroker kit, And then we're going to need to, this block was sleeved, but let's say you don't need sleeving. It's going to be machining, balancing the rotating assembly, and assembling the rotating assembly into a short block. Now, that in itself is going to be a good chunk of cash. And what you're going to be left with is a good base to start your build. Next thing I did was I did a head. The head is going to be all GSC valve train components and SuperTech, plus 1mm valves. The head's going to be ported and polished. And with that, you're going to need things like new fasteners for the rocker cover, the washers for the rocker cover, cam seals. You're going to need the gasket kit for the rocker cover. Next, you're going to need a head gasket. I went with the EVO 9 head gasket. You're going to need a new gasket for both the exhaust and the intake manifolds. I went with a Skunk 2 intake manifold, which was hand ported. And I went with a oversized stock style exhaust manifold, also hand ported. Okay, so that covers off the gaskets, the immediate gaskets for the head and for the manifolds. I have a refinished valve cover with I believe it's -12 bungs for breathers. For the bottom end, I went with a Tomei crank scraper. Going further, new oil pickup, gasket for the oil pickup, all the bolts for the pan, the bolts for the oil pickup, and a brand new EVO 9 pan, and the corresponding EVO 9 turbo drain. So continuing on the timing side, okay, brand new AC Delco tensioner, brand new oil pump, stock Mitsubishi, and the gasket, and that with the balance shaft welded up. Okay, sticking with the the timing side, I've got AEM True Time cam gears for the 4g63. A brand new crank seal and the crank sort of aluminum cover. Brand new from Mitsubishi. Oop, it's upside down. Okay, I got a set of top line lifters. And a full set of brand new EVO 9 rocker arms. So 16 of those. HKS 4g63 timing belt. Okay, the GSC R2 billet cams. This is the Kigley Racing reluctor wheel. Okay, that has to go on the timing side while it's being assembled. And also the Kigley Racing oil restrictor for the head. Okay, these are, although it's the wrong box, these are the, I think it's L98 head studs. So it's the stronger ARP head studs for the head. Okay, and then a new idle air control valve from Mitsubishi. And a oversized 70mm throttle body billet one. So there are a few things that I still have on order, and that's going to be a GSC neutral balancing shaft for the balance shaft eliminator. I need a fluid dampener for the crank, and new serpentine belt tensioner for the timing side, and a new oil filter housing from Mitsubishi. Another thing that I bought was all 3 parts for the timing cover. So that brand new for the cams. This brand new for the bottom part. Here's the part number. There's the other part number. That's the middle plastic piece. This will be the top for the top of the timing belt. Now a few other things that I need, just various fasteners I ordered through Mitsubishi. Probably about $200 extra in miscellaneous fasteners. And what that's going to result in is a pan to valve cover with manifolds, a new long block, and it'll be a built new long block. Now the manifold, just getting back to the manifold, I don't think I mentioned this is a Force Performance one, and I'll be going with a FP0, Force Performance 0 turbo. Now that's going to be a different cost, and I can go over that in a later video. But this is what I have so far to assemble, and it should be a very, very decent long block. Okay, so the final thing that we're going to have to consider for this build is the assembly. So who's putting this together? So most of you guys, being enthusiasts, I'm sure can do some of your own work, but I think very few people can do all of their work. And that's not a big deal. So some of you are going to get a break on assembly because you'll do things like, you know, assemble some of the head. You're going to do things like get a shop to set up the bearing clearances, and then you can take it from there. Maybe you can do the timing yourself, or any variation of those things. So now, what I'm going to do for this video is that I think that at the very end here, we got to tack on, I would say about $1,000 for assembly. And that's thinking that you're going to take the engine, most of the engine, into a shop and have them assemble most of it and probably install it in the car. Not a lot of you guys probably have a lift or the time to necessarily put an engine into your car, like for example pulling the engine, going through the bay, going over the electrical, and then installing a new engine. So let's say $1,000 on probably the low end, to tell you the truth, for that sort of a job. And there's going to be a lot of extras incurred. So we'll cut it off there, and we have our grand total, and that's where we're at. Alright guys, thanks for checking out the video today. So after calculating that grand total, you have to think to yourself, is this what I want? If you're an enthusiast, I mean, money isn't necessarily a factor. Maybe it's your wife not finding out what you're spending on this. However, the money is the money. There is some ways of improving things by buying used parts, by getting buddies involved in, maybe they have expertise. However, you got to be careful what kind of risks you're willing to take. Used parts come with their own set of risks. For me personally, I don't use a lot of used parts for that reason. That's why I did things like, you see on the list, I bought brand new rockers. Yeah, that's a pretty significant cost, buying 16 of those. However, I need some confidence that at high RPM that this engine isn't going to spit a rocker out. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video today. Make sure that you do subscribe to the channel and hit that bell to make sure that you are notified when I post up upcoming videos. And as well, check me out on my Instagram page at Wrench Rampage. Have a good evening.